Hello, everyone. Good morning, USA. Good afternoon, Europe, and good evening, Asia. Welcome to MIFF first webinar, Post-COVID-19, the change in global furniture landscape, what is ahead? My name is Karen. I'm pleased to inform you that we have now over 200 participants signed in to this webinar. Our participants are coming from country. So before we start, I would like to mention some housekeeping rules for this webinar. All microphone and video of attendees have been muted. So if you have any question to ask our speaker, do list them down at the Q&A box. We will have a Q&A sessions after all speakers have presented. If there is any internet disruption during the webinar, please be patient and try to sign in again. Let's have a look on today's program. We will start off with welcome remarks by our moderator, Mr. M. Gandhi, Group Managing Director of ASEAN Business of Informal Markets, followed by presentations from our first speaker, Mr. Wang Ming Liang. He will share with us the status of China market. Second speaker, Mr. Thomas Russell from USA will share with us the US furniture industry in the wake of COVID-19. Our third speaker, Mr. Helmut Merker from Germany, will talk about coronavirus and consequences for the furniture industry in the EU and Germany. A Q&A sessions will follow after these presentations. Meanwhile, we will also broadcast 3 poll questions in between the presentation. Please feel free to answer those questions. The webinar aims to end at 10:30 p.m. Without further ado, I hand over the floor to our moderator, Mr. Gandhi. Mr. Gandhi, the floor is yours now.
Good morning, good afternoon, and good evening. I am extremely delighted to be the moderator for today's webinar. This event is sponsored by MIFF, which is the largest furniture international trade fair in the Southeast Asian region. The topic for today is very appropriate to the current situation that we are all facing, and it is related to post-COVID-19, the change in the global furniture landscape. What is ahead? What we are expecting, if you look at it today, the furniture industry is a multi-billion-dollar industry that involves buyers and sellers from all over the world. As all other industry in the world, the furniture industry is also affected. Furniture industry at this point, all governments in the world do not regard it as an essential service. Hence, the impact on this has been significant. However, we know there will be a change. When matters come back, there will be a major change. So, what are the actions we should take and prepare for the future? We are fortunate to have 3 speakers with us today who will be covering different furniture market in the world. And I would like to invite the 3 speakers onto the platform right now. You can see them. The first speaker will be Mr. Wang Ming Liang. He will be speaking about China, which is an extremely important manufacturing and also becoming an important consumer market in the world. We will also have Mr. Tom Russell. speaking about the US market, which is the world's largest consumer market for furniture. We will also have our friend from Germany, Mr. Max Merkel, who will be covering the European market. I sincerely would like to thank all the panelists, for being available to share this session, and also the participants. As of this morning, we have 500 participants who have registered, but so far we have over 300 people who have logged in from 26 countries. Majority of those who have logged in are manufacturers, although we have some buyers and media and associations and others. So without further ado, I would now like to introduce our first speaker, Mr. Wang Mingliang, our business associate and my good friend. Mr. Wang is a pioneer who started and worked in the Shanghai International Exhibition industry for 42 years. He's also the publisher of China Furniture Magazine, a well-known name in the business and an acute observer of the latest trends in interior design. Trade show organizer, Mr. Wang Mingliang is well versed on the insights of furniture industry in China. Let us welcome Mr. Wang Mingliang to share his insight on the China market. Mr. Wang, please.
Okay. Thank you, Gandhi, for the introduction. And hello, everybody. It's my pleasure to introduce some of the market situations of China at this COVID-19. First, I would like to touch with the first quarter of China economy. Some negative news. China import and export reduced by 6.4%, among which export is 11.4% reduced. Import is 0.7% reduced, which is quite acceptable during this serious crisis of coronavirus. And in March, showed some positive since the total import and export reduced by 0.8%, which is much better than the whole first 3 months. Among which import increased by 2.4%. This is very good news. I mean, the import by China is going on through good market demand. Some good recoveries, like domestic in March, 70% of the real estate showed a recovery, and 38 cities had a price increase of the housing sales. Traffic continued to get to normal. 7 cities, the traffic back to 9%. By mid-March, 80% of the food and the restaurant opened. 85% of the furniture manufacturers reopened their factories. And our good news is that in April, from 1st to 15th, China's national power generation increased by 1.2%. This means the factories and people's life are getting to normal. Now, the impact of furniture industry by COVID-19. Furniture retails in January and February reached 14.2 billion RMB yuan, which is 30.5% reduced. Exports reduced by 21%. Furniture trade malls reopened by mid-February gradually. All furniture trade shows before June postponed. It is a trend in China during the last few months. Business are go online. IKEA in China opened their online shop at the Tmall on 10th March. At the first 6 hours, attracted 180,000 fans go online. And the IKEA direct broadcast on cloud drew 300,000 fans in a few hours. I read a recent news that during COVID-19, IKEA turnover reduced by 60%, but the sales online increased by 2 times, which is a magnificent change. The traditional IKEA business is quickly go online. China now entering to GDP $10,000 per capita. And the general domestic sales last year reached 41 trillion RMB yuan in 2019, which is quite close or equal to that of United States. Now in China, for furniture production, 1/4 of the production goes for export. So the majority, 3/4 of the furniture production are selling on the domestic market. So in the long run, furniture sales at home will boom again. Like IKEA, business go online. Our furniture show also go online for the last 15 years. We are one of the pioneer for exhibition organizer to go online. Recently, we put online the furniture purchase online sales platform. In the left side of the mobile, it is the smartphone using the WeChat, which we have almost 500 exhibitors. On the right side is easy buy at jjgu.com. This I think is very convenient for business to business or business to professional, sometimes also to consumers. So those of you you sell to China, you can use the Chinese 家居在线采购通 to go online by mobile or get on to the jjgu.com to check with Easy Buy. Now I would like to talk something about the China furniture history after SARS and the 2008 world economic crisis. Here you see from 1997 to year 2008, export is running increase all the times. Even by SARS in 2003, there is no negative sign or increase, but by the year 2009, after world financial crisis, we had a 6% decrease. And then the export go up again until 2016. We don't know what is the reason why at that time there's a 9% decrease. Maybe it's a kind of a cycle. Then last year, China had got US dollar 56.5 billion US dollars export, which is 3.6% growth compared with last year. And it was the record high. Coronavirus may hit serious to China furniture industry this year. We may estimate a slight impact at 6%, which is same as year 2008 at the world financial crisis, or a moderate decrease by 15%, which I think may be more likely. Change after COVID 2019. In 2015, China state government announced the supply side reform, meaning let the poor companies dismissed and gave way to quality companies. China furniture companies had gone through for the last 30 years a continuous rapid growth, which made our furniture production capacity much more over market needs. In the last few years, anti-pollution and a higher labor cost made many furniture companies shut down their factories. After this COVID-19, many poor companies may be acquired by big companies or go out of furniture business. Furniture retail dealers will close their shops by 10 to 20%, give way to those of good dealers or for companies dealing with online sales. Online sale will be more popular by selling on lower prices or sell direct from the factory. This may be a trend. Investment to build new factories, new furniture factories will get slow or stopped. Wood furniture market survived after many crises. Same are the situation, I think, during or after coronavirus crisis. As the saying goes, that confidence is more valuable than gold. Mr. Ren, founder of Huawei, is such a confident person. Huawei made a 20% growth in 2019 under the rocket high pressure of difficulties. So let's hope for the best. Thank you for listening.
Thank you. Thank you so much, Mr. Wang. And it was a fantastic presentation, was Mr. Wang. And he gave a very important point here that China is coming back during this crisis. And one of the important things that he shared was that the market is adapting itself, it's going online. And another very important point that Mr. Wang shared is China is transforming itself for being an export-oriented economy to become a domestic-oriented economy, with about 3/4 of the the market is dependent on domestic consumption. And also, thank you for sharing about the history of China's furniture market. And one important point Mr. Wang made is about the potentially there could be a 15% reduction of the furniture market because of the coronavirus situation. However, he also made very clear that this situation is going to shake up the whole furniture industry, both the production side and the retail. And in this sense, there will be retailers who are going to survive, will become even stronger. So that's very interesting. And I love that statement that Mr. Wang made, confidence is gold. Thanks for sharing that. So hopefully we can learn something from here. So there is a poll. Thank you for participating in this poll. How COVID-19 is affecting your business? Which is the biggest impact? So I can see from here, the majority has said it's because of canceling or the postponement of your customer order. 30% have said that it's about because of the production on hold. So these are the two main issues that our participants are facing. So I hope this poll will share. So thank you for participating in the poll. Next, I would like to introduce our second speaker, Mr. Tom Russell. Tom is a senior editor of Case Goods and Global Sourcing at Furniture Today. He has worked at the publication since August 2003 in a variety of roles, starting as an associate editor, covering imports and occasional furniture before being promoted in 2009 to cover the case goods beat. During his tenure with the publication, he has visited many countries, including China, Malaysia, Indonesia, Vietnam, Philippines, as well as Mexico, Brazil, Poland, Egypt. Some of the trips has focused on covering trade shows in those respective countries. However, he has also covered furniture manufacturing in those countries and in the United States, communicating the stories of some of the industry's top manufacturers. In 2017, he was promoted to senior editor, and in 2019, senior editor of Case Goods and Global Sourcing, continuing his role of communicating the strength, challenges, and areas of opportunity for furniture manufacturers around the world that serves the US market. Tom, the floor is yours now. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Mr. Gandhi. I hope everyone can hear me. It is an honor to be able to participate in this webinar. Thank you to the Malaysian International Furniture Fair, Kelly, Karen, Mr. Gandhi, Dato Tan, and my colleagues, Mr. Wong and Max, also for taking part in this. It's a very timely discussion. I'd like to discuss the U.S. furniture industry in the wake of COVID-19. Going down to my next slide here. The impact on the furniture industry in the U.S. was very swift and sudden as this became a global issue. The discussion as I've had with different wholesalers, importers in the U.S. market, at one point, probably around the late February, early March, the conversation with retailers is, get me my shipments as soon as possible, because there was a disruption, there was concern about disruption in the supply chain, particularly from China. In mid-March, once the individual states in the United States imposed stay-at-home, shelter-in-place orders that closed businesses throughout their territories, the discussion became stop my shipments immediately. It was indeed a swift transition. So that affected everybody from manufacturers to suppliers. It certainly affected the factories in Asia and Vietnam and Malaysia in particular, which are among the biggest shippers to the US market along with China. And there was also an impact on major events. Our pre-market event, which is a preview of the High Point furniture market every spring and fall, it was canceled. Probably the first time this event had been canceled in anybody's memory. And the April High Point market was postponed also. So that had a huge effect on there was a lot of uncertainty. And just about a week and a half ago, the market that was supposed to happen in June was canceled. So the next high point will be in October. There's still a July Las Vegas market on the calendar, but we're not sure what the status of that will be. So we'll have to all stay tuned. Now, despite this challenge, this week, starting actually the 1st of May, some states are starting to open up. Their shelter-in-place orders are gradually being rescinded, which means that businesses can start opening up again, particularly furniture stores, which obviously, once they reopen, then business can start to kind of trickle in. It's not going to be a swift and sudden rush of business. It's going to be a gradual business, and maybe by the end of the year, we may be back up to where we were at the start of the year, which actually the first quarter was off to a strong start for many. But once business opened, I'd like to kind of talk with the Malaysian furniture industry and others participating in this about the areas of opportunity. While a lot of retailers have been shut down in the US until the stay-at-home orders have been lifted in individual states, e-commerce business has thrived. So companies like Wayfair, Amazon, Overstock, all the e-commerce players, even retailers that have e-commerce sites have thrived because people are ordering furniture more than ever online. Another area of opportunity for manufacturers and importers alike is home office. People are starting to realize that they can work out of their home very successfully, but they may not have the tools. And what we're concerned about is furniture, the appropriate desks, file cabinets, bookcases, storage pieces that go along with it. So there's a huge opportunity that we're seeing in home office. Living room furniture, families are staying at home or have been staying at home instead of going out to the movies, to concerts. That will continue, but I think living room furniture, occasional tables, consoles, home entertainment furniture will be an area of opportunity once business starts to pick up. Along with that, we have motion upholstery, sectionals, huge area of growth. I know Malaysia is extremely strong in all these categories, so that's going to be a good news for Malaysian manufacturers once things start to pick up. Casual dining, another area of opportunity. People have been not allowed to go to restaurants and dine in close proximity to each other during this crisis, during this pandemic. So there's going to be, people have been gotten used to starting to dine at home more. And casual dining, another area that Malaysia manufacturers particularly, and Vietnam also are strong in, is casual dining. So that's going to be a growth area. I've already started talking to importers that are setting their sights on these and some other categories. Here's some simple advice for Malaysian manufacturers. I wanted to kind of keep this kind of short and to the point, but realize there's going to be still huge opportunity. Again, it may not come all at once. It's going to be a gradual rise of the tide, but there will be opportunity. So be prepared for that opportunity. I suggest studying the needs of the marketplace to fill the perceived voids. Work with your U.S. partners to develop products that address key areas of opportunity in those categories. This is going to be a win-win by working together. Also, as you're doing this, sharpen to the best of your ability your lead times and response times for the U.S. market, because right now, retailers are going to start to want to know, in the U.S. are going to want to know what can they get immediately, what type of products, whether they're in U.S. warehouses or they're basically ready to flow off the production line from Asia. They want to know, can I get this within the next month or two? Because the demand is, they want to be there when the demand occurs. I'm sorry. Also, some further advice. Again, maintain strong partnerships with your U.S. customers. Now is not the time to be, you have to keep your eye on the prize, in other words, and working together with your U.S. customers, whether it's a retailer or an importer, is going to be extremely important. And I would add to that also, maintain a very steady workforce. Pay attention to keeping your workers happy, because at this point in time, turnover is going to be your factory's worst enemy. If you're going to have turnover, and that occurs when workers are not happy, when they're not getting paid enough, when they're not being compensated enough, and when they're not treated the way you would expect to be treated, that's when turnover might occur, or probably will occur. We've seen it in Vietnam because they face huge competition. So treat your workers well, avoid turnover, so you have some consistency in your production. That's key in this time frame. Build on your strengths and recognize your weaknesses. And that said, you're going to be able to keep on doing and improving what you do best. You know that as much as anybody, so I would strongly recommend that you focus on your strengths and try to minimize your weaknesses. Thank you for listening, and I'm glad to answer any questions at the end of this presentation. Thank you.
Thank you, Tom. Thank you very much. It was a fantastic presentation. While waiting for the poll question, I just wanted to quickly try to summarize what Tom said. I think very important point is the sudden change from please send me the order quickly to cancel the order quickly. So that was the in the beginning of the coronavirus when it started to spread in the US. And one thing very interesting is from the 1st of May, many of the states are opening back. And one of the very important message that Tom is sharing with us is many furniture stores will be coming back online. But however, online furniture business, e-commerce is very strong. It's continuing to happen. And why one of the things that Tom's forecast is by the end of the year, things could come back. So it could come back very quickly. So it's very important to understand the change in the market, the change in consumer behavior. For example, the requirement of home office, casual dining, and other. So understanding what's going to be the change in the consumer behavior, being prepared to supply that quickly. I think the key word is quickly, so that the industry can be prepared to adapt. And this is in line with the MIFF's philosophy of design connects people. If you look at furniture design, it actually really connects people, and understanding how our new designs can help to connect people and help people to work in the new environment. So the most important statement that I can see from Tom is adapt to new opportunities, be ready for the market to come back quickly. So I think that's the message that I'm getting, Tom. Thank you for that.
Thank you.
So we have the result from the poll. The question is, when do you think your business will be back? So majority expecting in 6 months. 6 months is not too long, so actually 6 months will fly. We are already, so I think it's quite interesting. Thank you for sharing this, for this. Thank you. Now I would like to go to the next speaker. And the next speaker is Mr. Max Merkel. Excuse me. Mr. Max Merkel is the editor-in-chief of Mobile Mart magazine from Germany. The German journalist and consultant Helmut Max Merkel is specialized in the furniture sector since 1982. He started his journalistic career with a daily newspaper. In 1982, he became the editor of EU-WIT, European Economic News Service, where he was in charge of the furniture industry. In 1988, he started to work for the leading German furniture trade magazine, Mobile Mart. From 1982 to 1999, he was the co-owner of a PR agency. Since his return to Mobile Mart in 1999, he is the editor-in-chief for the magazine. In his position, he is visiting furniture fairs, companies, and associations all over the world. Max is also the owner of CRP Consulting, a service and consulting company that is focused on international furniture sector. Max is a good friend of ours, and I'm so pleased to invite you now for your presentation. Max, the floor is yours. Thank you.
Thank you, Gan, and hello to my friends in Malaysia and from other parts in the world. I'm very happy and honored that I can join this event today, and I hope I can give you some useful information about the situation in the European Union and especially in Germany. I was very happy when I was listening to the words of my friend Ming Liang, and it's good to hear that the situation in China is improving. I have to say, in Europe and in Germany, we are not yet in this situation. So it's very difficult to find optimistic signals in the moment. You can find more pessimistic views on if you look to the future. But I hope we are soon in the same situation like people in China. First of all, I want to give you some general information about the European Union, also as a base for the discussion later and for the Q&A session. The European Union consists in the moment of 27 countries. I'm sure you know that in January, one of the biggest members, UK, left the European Union. So now we are 27, and we have around 450 million citizens in the European Union. The furniture industry in the European Union, we have 1 million employees, and the turnover is 96 billion euro. In the European Union, in the moment, we have 120,000 enterprises, mainly small, medium sized enterprises, but also thousands of micro companies. The European Union stands for 25% of the world furniture production and represents 25% of the world furniture consumption. In many European countries, the industry stands for the high-end segment. Yeah, you can say the European Union is a world leader in the high-end segment of the furniture market. Nearly 2 out of every 3 high-end furniture products sold in the world are produced in the European Union, especially in countries like Italy, Germany, but also in Scandinavia, France, and Spain. We have a hard competition in Europe, especially competition coming from China. We all know that China is the biggest furniture exporter in the world, and also the biggest importer in the European Union. But we also have a big competition within the European Union, not only the competition from outside, especially competition between Western Europe and Eastern Europe countries. The competition is coming especially from Poland, but also from Romania, from Baltic states, but also from Eastern European countries that are not in the European Union, like, for example, Belarus or the Ukraine. The big players in the European Union are Germany, Italy, Poland, UK, and France. The big 5 represent around 15% of the world production and 66% of the production in the European Union. But all these countries and all these industries in these countries were affected by the COVID-19 pandemic, especially in Italy, where the production was stopped for many weeks. But also in Poland, for example. In Poland, the industry was growing for years, and experts forecast for 2020 a decrease of the production of around 35%. Now let's come to the situation in Germany. As I told you, the German furniture market is the biggest in Europe. The sales volume of the German furniture retail sector is approximately 33 to 34 billion euro. Last year it was exactly 34.2 billion euro, a plus of 4%. The most important product category are kitchen, followed by upholstery furniture, living room furniture, and bedroom furniture. In Germany, in the moment, we have around 8,000 furniture retailers. They represent 75% of the total sales. Other distribution channels are e-commerce or big hypermarkets or DIY markets. From 16 March to 19 April, all furniture shops and stores were closed. Definitely all. Now we have a new situation that in most of the German states, the shops in the size up to 800 square meters can open. But of course, most the big stores for furniture, they have up to 60,000 square meters. And it depends in which German state they are located. In the moment, only in one state in North Rhine-Westphalia, which is the center of Germany. Also the big stores can open. In other parts of Germany, it's still not yet possible. We have a very high concentration in the German furniture trade. The top 10 retailers represent approximately 50% of the total sales volume. But now, after COVID-19, I'm sure this concentration will increase. And there will be another problem in the post-corona period. The power of the large retail chains and buying groups will increase the pressure on the suppliers. So the situation for suppliers from Malaysia or other Asian countries will not improve, because the big retail chains and buying groups will show their power. And of course, in this process of concentration, a lot of shops have to give up and close the business. We don't know, we don't have any forecast how many it will be, but I'm sure those who are not very well prepared on such a situation, and also companies which are not so strong in digital business, will have big problems. Now the situation is very bad, and I told you at the beginning that people are not very optimistic. The situation at the beginning of the year was completely different, and we were expecting a good year 2020. At the end of last year, there was a market research, and the result was that 19 million people in Germany in 9.3 million households were planning to purchase new furniture in 2020. The average willingness to spend on furniture was more than 2,500 euro per household. The desire for new furniture was particularly noticeable among young people. More than 40% of the population between the ages of 14 and 29 were planning to buy new furniture. If we make the same research now, it will be completely different, and it will be definitely not better. In the moment, we have some negative aspects if we look to the future, but we also have a few positive aspects. Let me start with the negative. We will have a general recession in the German economy. That will affect, of course, also the furniture business. Experts in economy say that this year the economy will decrease by 4.2%. We will have, and we expect, an increase of the jobless rate, which is very important for the demand for furniture. And we will have a big number of jobless people, especially in the hospitality and in the tourism sector. All restaurants are closed, at least until end of May, maybe longer. And of course, this will also affect the demand for contract furniture in the hospitality sector. Experts expect that 70% of all restaurants will not be opened after coronavirus. Let's come to the positive aspects. I think it's better to talk about some positive things. Some people in the furniture sector hope that private budgets are shifted from vacation trips to the purchase of consumer goods, including furniture. We always hear from the politicians that this year it will be not possible to go for holidays because most of the borders are closed. We don't have a lot of flights, only a few. So if people go for holiday, it's only possible in Germany. So I don't know if this will happen, that people take the money for the holidays and spend it for consumer goods like furniture. I hope this will happen, but to be honest, I'm not sure. In the face of exit restrictions, consumers recognized the need to optimize their home furnishings. And I agree what Tom said. The same will happen in Germany, that people will buy new home office furniture, because a lot of people are working at home because the companies are closed. And I'm sure that a lot of these people will realize that the furniture at home are not the best if you have to work a lot in your own apartment. Another positive aspect is that the situation in the construction sector is more or less stable. So housing constructions will affect the furniture business in a positive way. A few words on the situation on the manufacturing side. End of last year, we had 477 manufacturers with more than 50 employees. This number is going down year by year. End of 2019, 85,000 people were working in the furniture industry. Of course, also this number is declining. The turnover in 2019 was 17.7 billion euro. And in the period from January to October 2019, there was a little decrease, but you can say it was almost the same as in the year 2018. I still can remember the time 20 years, 15 years ago, when many people said in a few years there will be no more furniture industry in Germany. The production will be shifted to Eastern Europe and to Asia. Now we have another situation. Germany has still own production and still a strong production. Of course, it's nothing compared to China with a market share of 41%. But we are still number 3 in the world. Number 2 is our United States, and number 5 is Italy. It's still a big surprise if you compare these results with the forecasts 15 years ago. So at the end, some words about the situation mid of April, end of April. Mid of April, 15% of the German furniture manufacturers stopped production. 40% were working with reduced capacities. 45% were producing, let's say, normal. The biggest problems and the challenges are the dramatic drop in orders from home and abroad. And the next problem is that the supply chains are broken. We had a minus of 88% deliveries from Italy, 31% from Asia, and 19% from Eastern Europe. Yeah, at the end, I only can say thank you very much, terima kasih, shishir, and now I'm waiting for a good and fruitful discussion and Q&A session. Thank you.
Thank you, Max. Thank you for sharing your knowledge and experience. Just while we are looking at the poll questions, the last poll question, I just want to quickly summarize what Max was saying. Europe is more pessimistic compared to China, or even to the certain extent of what Tom was mentioning. He mentioned about the Europe is actually a high-end manufacturer. The only positive thing is that only 800 square meters shop sizes can be open right now, and many of the German states, each one have got different policies. One very important point Max made is about this COVID situation will strengthen the larger retailers and the larger buyers, so they may have a bigger negotiating power at the cost of the smaller retailers. Some of them may go out of business during this period of time. There is a general recession in Europe that is expected. However, the silver lining is Europeans who spend a lot of money on travels will have extra cash in their hands. They will be spending on home and things like that. So thank you, Max, for sharing your experience. So we now have a poll answer. Very interesting. Will you be looking for digital solution? Yes, it seems like this is 91% of this. Those who are presented here are saying that they will be looking at digital solution. So thank you for the fantastic 3 presentation. Now the exciting time for question and answers. We have some questions that we have received before the session today. There are some questions that are coming live right now. What I will try to do is to mix both the questions. We may not be able to answer all the questions, but what we will do is, if we cannot answer the question live today, the panelists will try to come back to you on an individual basis with answers if possible. And we will also try to combine several questions into one question, especially if they are related questions. So we had a lot of interaction, during this time. So before, what I would like to start is the first question. There is a first question here from Agnes Tai. Government in other countries, let me see. Yeah, Agnes Tai, the government in other countries are providing different degrees of assistance to industry. Wonder if there are any supportive policies, measures by the Chinese government, in particular for the furniture manufacturing. I think this question is specifically for Mr. Wang.
I don't think government will specifically give kind of support to furniture industry. The government is now giving strong support to the new infrastructure, which are 5G for ultra voltage electricity supply for high tech. So furniture is a traditional production, and almost 90% of the manufacturers are private owned. So there are no any kind of support from the government. The government is now, in the next week, we have strong support for all the retail market to encourage companies, brands to give discounts to stimulate sales. That's the current situation.
Thank you, Mr. Wang. Thank you for that. I have a question here that came before. This question is, I think Mr. Tom Russell would be probably able to answer this question. Before the pandemic, North American retailers were looking for alternative suppliers because of the tariff issue with China. Will Malaysia remain an attractive to the market in your region? How would you weigh the advantages, weakness of Malaysia and that of other producing countries in the current scenario? Tom.
Yes, thank you. That's a very good question. I think that Malaysian manufacturers have a very big opportunity, as evidenced by the shipments to the US market in 2019. That's, of course, the latest full year information that we have. But furniture shipments to the US from Malaysia were up 28% in 2019, $942.6 million US dollars. Vietnam was up about 35%. and their numbers are certainly much higher. China was down 28% from 13.5 billion to about 9.7 billion in shipments to the US. So Malaysia clearly was already taking advantage of the opportunity to fill the void. I think Malaysia is perceived by many to be very strong in the promotional to lower priced product. Particularly an area of strength is laminate, melamine, high quality melamine bedroom production. More automation in Malaysian factories is a strength. But sometimes when you're perceived as, and that's a huge market for the US consumer, the lower price point. But I think the opportunity to perhaps become more versatile with slightly higher price points, better quality, is an area. I wouldn't say it's a weakness, it's an opportunity for Malaysia.
Thank you. Thank you, Tom. And there is an anonymous attendee here. That's a question for Max. Dear Max, as we have exported to European countries like France, Spain, Belgium, Greece, and also UK, but we wish to expand our market to more like Germany. Any advice for us? Thank you. Max?
It's a good question, and it's not easy to answer. As I told you, the German market is the biggest in Europe. This is a fact, but it's also the most difficult market in Europe, if not one of the most difficult in the world. Of course, there are chances to enter the market after COVID-19. In the moment, it's very, very difficult. But there will be a time after COVID-19, and I think it's worthwhile checking the market and the possibilities. I have good relationships to the industry in Malaysia, and I have given seminars in Malaysia, and I've organized study missions for Malaysian manufacturers, and I always have see the biggest problem in the design. You have to check the design, what is sold in Germany. You have to check the materials, what you can sell here in Germany, and then you have adapted to your company and to follow the demand in my country. This is for me the biggest problem. I think it's not a price. People in Germany also appreciate companies from Malaysia. Many German people in the furniture business know that Malaysian companies are reliable and they trust Malaysian suppliers. But for me, the biggest problem is definitely the design. I give you an example. In Germany, it's almost impossible to sell rubber wood furniture. I always tell this to suppliers in Malaysia. And yeah, you cannot change this habit of German buyers. Nobody knows if German consumers would buy rubber wood furniture or not, because the consumers normally never see any piece of furniture made of rubber wood. But the purchasing managers say, no, it's not possible to sell. And as long as you cannot convince the purchasing managers, you don't have a chance to enter the market. So please check what's going on in my country. You always can ask me if you need some information, some advice, and also be patient, because in the moment the situation is really not good, and the buyers are in the moment not in the mood to check new suppliers. Everybody is waiting at the moment what will happen in the next weeks, months, or maybe in the next 2 years. We have to wait.
Thank you, Max, for sharing. I can understand, to understand the consumer, because each of the consumers in each of the European countries could be different, really understanding the need and designing it from the point of design and also material to open that market. So thank you for sharing this. Okay, so this is a question for all the panelists. So any one of you can pick it up, or maybe more than one can answer this question. Do you foresee some countries or governments will raise import duties to protect their own furniture industry, which have been badly hit? If so, where do you see this happening, and how this will impact an overseas exporters and overall industry competition? So I hope the question is about tariffs, whether more countries will jump into the tariff bandwagon to protect their local industries and things like that.
Well, I can answer that partly from the U.S. perspective. There has been a anti-dumping duty order on Chinese-made mattresses in the U.S., and now there is a petition to expand that to Vietnam and other Asian countries. So the push from the U.S. manufacturers is to have duties not just on the Chinese-made mattresses, but also on the mattresses that are being imported from these other countries that are made, starting to fill the void from China. Vietnam, even Indonesia got huge increases in market share of bedding due to the duties on Chinese made. But, and the question is though, whether that will shift production back to the US market. With the wood bedroom duties from Chinese made wooden bedrooms, a lot of that shifted to Vietnam, some to Malaysia, but mostly to Vietnam in the past 15 years or less, but didn't bring the industry back to the United States. So, but as far as like, there's some hope that there will be some reductions in tariffs on Chinese-made goods as the Trump administration continues to negotiate with China, but we haven't heard anything yet positive about reduced tariffs on furniture from China. Right now, they're still at about 25%.
Thank you, Tom.
Yes.
Okay, if you want, I can add a few words. Germany, nobody is talking or discussing about new import duties. This is part of discussion, and of course the German government is always very careful with import duties because Germany is the world champion in exports in general for furniture, and we are very careful, and new import duties raise the danger that there will be also duties on German products in other countries. That's the most important reason that there is no discussion in the moment.
Thank you, Max and Tom, for sharing this. No, I think so. It'll be a mixed. Can I go to another question here? This is a live question from Mr. Ko from CSUN Office Solution. Thank you, Mr. Ko. After COVID-19, will the main key player switch from offline to online? Is this online selling will become a necessary for the coming market? Thank you. Anybody would like to pick up this? Maybe Mr. Wang?
Yes. For our exhibitions, we had been put a lot of investment in developing the online solutions for buyers and the sellers. In China, as I mentioned during my presentation, IKEA was just a few weeks go online, and they did very well. Last week, I went to one of our exhibitors who produce sofa and also office furniture. He mentioned to me they are selling now online with Amazon for export. This is sales for export to by Amazon for consumer goods. For that's quite popular, but for furniture, I think it's quite new. And for furniture, sales online is very aggressive for many of the big companies. For instance, KUKA spent a huge amount of money to promote online in Tmall, and this become a part of their growth. I was informed the week ago by Mr. Ku, the CEO of KUKA. Their turnover, their sales last year reached 10 billion RMB yuan, which is a remarkable increase. So I think it's not necessary that for people should go online completely. So it is a good opportunity now to keep the sales as everybody is doing, and really start to invest into online sales. This is, I think, in the next few years, online sales will get more and more market share, because in China, the sales through traditional way is much higher than sale online. So this is one way. And the other way is by the technology, especially by Tencent for WeChat. This it's easy to have more and more online sales through individual companies, which means not necessary to go online by Tmall on the Alibaba. So that's business. One is that technology push companies to go online, and also the younger generation now become the powerful buyer of furniture, and they used to buy online. So that is the kind of situation.
I would like to add to Mr. Wang's excellent comments that Furniture Today recently published some information from a study that showed that in early April, there was for the first 2 weeks of April, during this period of stay-at-home, shelter-in-place, there was an 82.5% increase in online home furnishing sales those first 2 weeks compared to the same first 2 weeks of March. So people are staying at home, they're working at home, they're looking at their computers, and maybe ads from Wayfair or Amazon pop up on their screen, and they may look at that later. But there was also a 229% increase in online home furnishing sales from the same 2 weeks in April 2019. So you can see in just a relatively short amount of time, that's an indication to us that there is business being done. And a lot of the folks that we have talked to that cannot ship to retailers are saying that their online home furnishing sales have remained healthy and the biggest part of growth during this particular period. So that's a great area opportunity for brick and mortar to be able to kind of capture that sale, not only when people are staying at home and looking at their computers in their home office as they work or in their spare time, but once they go out shopping for furniture, the home furnishings retailer in the US, the brick and mortar store, is going to want to strengthen their e-commerce platform and be able to close the sale with some sort of incentives or attractive promotions that the buyers can get. And here again, this is an opportunity for the manufacturers and their the companies that they produce for to develop strategies to address online as well as brick and mortar.
Hey, thank you, Tom. Thank you, Mr. Wang. So I think what I get is the direction is it's going to go online, but brick and mortar will still be there, but then more might go towards online. So it's not like it will be a revolution. It's not like overnight everything will go online. Thank you for sharing this. Okay, this question is for Max. Europe has been badly hit. How long will it take for markets to rebound? And which countries are stronger and be among the first to recover? Will Europe look at their own furniture industry because of this export? So to get domestic production more to replace the foreign. So this is a very general question. Yep, Max.
If I knew how long it takes until COVID-19 is over and the situation is the same as before, if I knew that, I would be every evening on TV in Germany, because nobody knows it. A lot of people believe they know the answer, but in fact, in the moment, the situation is that people do not know what will happen. What will happen tomorrow in the next weeks? Every day we have new forecasts, and if you ask 2 experts what will be in the future, you get 3 different answers. So it's really difficult to give an answer to this question. I personally believe that it will take at least 3-4 months, not less, because in the moment the production is down. We still, schools are closed, restaurants are closed. Now we have some positive aspects. For example, the car industry is slowly coming back and starting production again, but it will take some time. There was another part of the question: how will be the situation after COVID-19? Will the purchasing habit change? Of course, there is a discussion not only since COVID-19 to bring back production more to Europe or to concentrate more on the European suppliers. But to be honest, I believe that in the next years, there will be that the furniture business will stay a global business. We have production capacities in special countries that we do not have anymore in Europe, for example. For example, outdoor furniture. If buyers want to buy outdoor furniture, they cannot do it in Europe anymore because we do not have the production here. Only a few high-end manufacturers are producing outdoor furniture in Europe, but I guess 80% or more is produced in Malaysia or in Vietnam, in Indonesia, and of course in China. So I'm sure that the furniture business will stay global. Maybe in the high end, there will be more concentration on products from Europe. But in general, I don't believe that the situation will change completely after COVID-19.
Thank you. Appreciate that comment. This question is for Mr. Wang. Mr. Wang, China is still the major source of raw materials and components. Can you give us an update on the situation in China, which is reopening after the lockdown? What are the key issues in sourcing for raw materials or meeting the consumer demands?
Again, when I visited the factory, furniture factory last week, their production is now come back to about 90% of the full production. The material supply components was a little bit difficult for the first few weeks because China started the factory reopen in early March, but everything I think is becoming to the normal. If for the materials and components supply from China to ASEAN countries, I think it will also go to normal from China to ASEAN countries. The changes are something like Tom said, there are many Chinese furniture manufacturers having their production in Vietnam or Indonesia. And for those companies, at the first stage, they depend on the material supply from China. And gradually, this material supply will be settled down in Vietnam or Indonesia. That means inside the ASEAN countries, the material supply and the components for China will be more convenient than before the COVID-19. So I don't know why there's a worry about the material supplies. It is only because of during this COVID, because everything is stopped. But it will resume, I think, pretty soon.
Thank you, Mr. Wang. Okay, this is, I think we need to close down. This will be the last question. I'm sorry, we cannot answer all the questions. My name is Shumais. I am a sofa manufacturer based in South Africa. My question to Max and Tom, what is the market share on imports of sofas particularly, and how do I access the specification for US and Europe?
I'm very sorry that I don't have the numbers not with me, but I'm ready to answer today or tomorrow if I get the contact data, and then I will send you all these exact information, especially about the market share and so on. Is this okay? Okay, so we will provide you the details of Shumas, and I'm sure we can send it to him. No, yeah, thank you. I hope you have. Thanks for your patience, Shumas.
I would agree with Max that I don't have the numbers at my fingertips either. Although I will say the unlike on the wood side of the business, which is the vast majority is import, in the US market, the vast majority of upholstery is produced domestically. But I can probably get you those numbers as well.
Okay, so I think there's there is this quite an interesting question. I cannot not ask this question, I think, although we are running out of time. There is a saying and thought around the internet. People were talking about furniture that is able to be antivirus. Do you think this is possible to be the next hit for the market? It's quite a, I think this is a question about innovation.
Yes, this morning when I'm driving, I am listening to a conversation between the CCTV and with the Gully, which is the biggest air conditioning producers, and they have thousands of engineers and scientists, and they are quite, focused on some of the solutions for antivirus. But I think that this is not something that is specifically give solutions to coronavirus. That might be for better cleaning, better air, better living. That's possible, I think.
Okay, so anyway, that's a good, just an interesting question, which is normally a different thinking, but new opportunities might be created because of this coronavirus. That's what I get from this question, that now the market is thinking about hygiene. There could be a new norm in the way people live, at least for a short term, so how we can meet. So thank you so much. And I really appreciate all the questions that came from the panelists, to the panelists from all over the world. My apologies if we couldn't answer the questions today, but we will try to get back to you. So we had a lot of great interaction. What I would like to say is, before we say goodbye, I'm going to request each of the panelists to say a few words as a concluding words before we end the event. Mr. Wang, please.
Oh, yes, 100 years ago, there was a Spanish flu where hundreds of millions of people died. And now we have this COVID-19. But the situation is, no matter what is the crisis, and after a few years, situation become good. And you see, after 10 years, there are big, increase of economy. So let's hope for the best. Coronavirus is a kind of problem, temporary. Life will come back and the business will go on. So be positive.
Thank you, Mr. Wang. Tom, your concluding words?
Yes, I certainly agree with Mr. Wang that we have been through many challenges before. This is a unique one in our lifetime, and as Max notes, there still are a lot of uncertainties. We don't really know to what extent and how quickly it will take for our respective industries in our respective countries to reemerge. But I think when we do, we'll all be stronger and better for not only that, but also perhaps more well prepared to deal with the next crisis because of the steps we've taken in this one. But I thank you for your attention and just listening to us and hearing us out.
Thank you, Tom. Max, your concluding words, please.
Yes, from the German or European perspective, I think the most important thing is in the moment that we have to get a grip on the COVID, and then we can develop concepts how to work and to live in the future. But I think the conclusion from the discussion now is that, of course, we have a lot of challenges, more than we wish to have, but there are also chances. And I think that's in the moment the most important thing that we can do, to check where we can do business, where we can develop new business ideas. It will be also the challenge to improve our digital tools and do more on the digital field. This is the homework we can do also in a time where we do not know exactly what will happen tomorrow. But we cannot sit down and wait. Of course, you can sit down and wait, but I'm not sure if you will be, if those people will be still part of the industry in the next weeks and months and years.
Thank you, Max. Thank you, Mr. Wang. Mr. Wang, thank you so much. Tom,
Thank you.
Absolutely appreciate your time. Max, no, this was a wonderful presentation. From what I can see from here is that, no, one of the things that I would like to share is that, no, it has really united the world. You know, we are seeing the interdependence of the world. Every human being is so interdependent on surviving, because this question is about survival, and that sense is survival in life, and also survival from a business perspective. And I can see the importance of cooperating and being more connected to be able to find a solution moving forward. And once again, to all the participants, so we have 288 participants still listening from all over the world. I appreciate your participation, and thank you. So I would like to now invite Karen, the MC, to conclude.
Thank you, Mr. Gandhi. Thank you all our speakers for the very insightful sharing. And thank you everyone for tuning in to this webinar. Hope you enjoyed today's sessions. A recorded version of today's webinar will also be available and sent to your email soon. Feel free to share this out to those who will benefit from today's session. We would like to invite you to join our community, follow us on our social media. Last but not least, we have launched the MIFF digital showroom on our website. Do visit our digital showroom to get connected with our exhibitors. Once again, thank you for tuning in, and we'll see you again next time. Thank you.
Thank you.